Hi guys, and welcome to Armin's Tech Talk. I am your host Armand, and I am here today to talk a little bit more about AMD's Ryzen. Recently, they have been really making a big deal out of these high-end desktop chips that a lot of people are talking about will unseat Intel from the performance crown, something that AMD hasn't been able to do in about 14 years. I talked a little bit about this subject the other day in a video. You can click in the card up here, which will show you a little bit more about that information. So, of course, the rumor mill keeps churning like it does. Take all of this with a grain of salt. AMD's Ryzen, the 16-core, 32-thread, is going to have some little brothers. We have a 14-core 28-thread, a 12-core 24-thread, and a 10-core 20-thread chip and route. All of this is supposedly part of the AMD 9 series for Ryzen chips. As you can see here in the chart, there are several different processors coming. We're looking at about 9, ranging from the 1998X all the way down to the 1955. I kind of like how AMD at this point is really choosing years. I'm a big fan of 1998. That was a great year. But there are some surprising things to be noticed with these chips. One is that the power consumption is below the rumored total TDP of Skylake X. Although with some of these chips, not by much, but it is a little bit of something. So we have TDPs ranging from 125 watts at the low end, the 10-core 20-thread 1955 chip, all the way up to 155 watts, which is going to be occupied by the 16-core 32-thread Threadripper monster that I keep referring to. Also interesting to note that it's going to have 44 lanes of PCI-E 3.0, which is going to match the X299 platform, which Intel has en route. So the most juicy details I think to really pick out of this is the base and boost clock speeds. So we do have the 16-core 32-thread chip. Looks like the rumor is it's going to clock in around 3.5 gigahertz for its base and just brushing up against that 4 gigahertz for its boost, a little bit below. I mean, if there's any overhead where you can overclock this, you probably easy could touch 4 gigahertz. And for a chip that large in the consumer market, that has yet to be done and will most definitely unseat the Intel 6950. So moving down the stack, we have, of course, the more, I guess I'm going to call it the plain or vanilla 1998 at 3.2 gigahertz, 3.6 in the boost. A 1977 at 3.5 and 4.0. Now, what is interesting here, of course, is that it looks like this 1977, 1976 line of chips is going to be a little bit faster. Of course, that should be expected if you don't have as many cores on the die. You can push things up a little further. Of course, we're talking heat dissipation, but I would assume that a lot of these chips either will come with or it will be recommended that you have some sort of all-in-one cooling unit. So moving further down the line, and actually, we get down into the 1956, 1955 chips, and of course you have decent clock speeds. This isn't necessarily something that we haven't seen before. I mean, we are pushing that now with the 6950, although I think these clock speeds are a little more refined. The chipset, of course, also does support quad-channel DDR4, which is, of course, to be expected. Now, one other thing I think it will be interesting to talk about, as we know the Ryzen CPUs eat up faster RAM. So if the extensions come out and the compatibility is there, then the RAM that these chips should be going with is going to be above and beyond 2066, which is what the rumored Skylake X compatibility is going to be. Of course, board manufacturers will let you push beyond that with XMP profiles, but that is the official support. There is a talk that official support on the AMD side is going to get up into the 3200 megahertz range. So guys, if these specs are true, and once again, remember, this is based upon the Naples architecture, at least for the platform. It's a revision of that platform and a slightly tuned down version of the processor. What do you guys think? Are you with the pricing? Definitely let me know in the comments below. I definitely want to hear your thoughts. At this point, I mean, I think AMD can kind of run the gamut. The 10-core 20-thread processor will probably come in at about, I would say, $150 above the highest end Ryzen, which is the 1800X. I think that's reasonable, especially if there's going to be quite the bump in performance. The high end, I don't think they will shoot quite as high as Intel has in the past. So I would say sub $1,500, but I would not be surprised if that chip is over $1,000. What do you guys think? Do you think it's worth it? Would you switch to AMD for this? I am actually hoping at some point this year I will be able to test these chips head to head and get some answers in the flesh. This is, of course, turning into a very interesting time in that market, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what AMD brings to the table. Hey guys, I want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I definitely would like you to come back, so if you'd hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you have something to say, definitely let me hear it in the comments below. I love having those conversations with you, and I will see you in the next video.